or listen anytime you want using the app, as the shows are archived on demand, as are the interviews. Don't forget YouTube at Eddie Trunk. We got some videos, some of our interviews up there. Don't forget podcast, another way to listen. New episodes go up every Thursday, but again, everything is on the app. Well, not all the videos on the app. The video pretty much lives on that YouTube channel now, but all the audio on demand for you on the app anytime you want, and select interviews available a week or two after they happen on the podcast. So be sure to subscribe to all. Be sure to follow on all at Eddie Trunk, X, Instagram, Facebook page, and that YouTube channel. The show accounts at Trunk Nation SXM. You'll find that on X, Instagram, and now a brand new thing going on TikTok for that Joel is posting some stuff. Joel, how is that doing? Are people watching it? Has anybody gone over there? I know it's brand new that you put it up.
Yeah, for about 2 weeks, it's got a couple thousand followers. Some of the videos are doing really well. We're getting a lot of engagement and comments. So hopefully, our content just starts to reach a younger audience over there also.
All right. Yeah. Well, Joel started that, so that's that's his world. I'm not about to take on another social media platform. I actually had a call earlier today, a Zoom call, with a gentleman who specializes in YouTube distribution, if you will. I had no idea, but there is a whole world out there of people whose job it is to manage and develop YouTube content for bands and people and entertainers and etc. YouTube is basically taken over the world. It is the number one streaming outlet. You know that it is obviously where we go for every bit of music videos. When an artist releases a music video, it used to be, you go to MTV, you wait for it to come on. Obviously, that changed a long time ago. But it is the YouTube universe without a doubt. I just saw a post minutes ago that SiriusXM's own Howard Stern now putting all his archival video interviews on YouTube. It's crazy. So anyway, I had a call because I only recently started putting stuff on YouTube like a few months ago. But I had a call with someone earlier today because, as you all well know and have all asked me about, and I'm sick of talking about it because I just want it to come out already, the concert for my 40th year in radio, which is now 2.5 years ago almost, I am committed to putting out for all of you to see this year. And that thing has been an odyssey because of the legalities, the publishing, what have you. So at this point, it is just going to go out to all on YouTube. However, just when I was about to just push load and put the thing up, I was alerted by many people that no. There's all these different ways to do it. You put out clips, you put out songs, you have to build a certain amount of, if you want to do it right, you build a certain amount of interest. You want to get to the top of algorithms. There's all this shit that I know nothing about. But there are people, if you pay them, that do know how to do all that. And I didn't even know it talking to this guy. Like, he manages these YouTube accounts for all of these big name rock artists, because you think, and I always thought, you made a music video or you want to put something on YouTube. You just go do it, upload it. And yeah, you can do that. But if you want, I guess there's so much traffic on a platform like YouTube. Like anything, anyone can put stuff out. Anyone can post anything, that in order to get like eyes, ears, interest, it pushed to people's feeds or whatever, there's a whole art to that, and there's a whole business to that. So I got a little bit of an education about that earlier today with this gentleman I talked to, who is actually based in Germany. And he was super cool. And he was like, it always amazes me when people know who I am in other parts of the world, because he's like, oh my gosh, you're a legendary figure. We can help. I was like, I've never even been to Germany. So I was very appreciative of how excited he was to work with me. And he seems like he totally knows what he's doing. And he works with bands like Scorpions and all that. So he's completely a big time guy. And he totally was like, no, don't put the concert out yet. Give me some time. I've got a plan. We'll get it out by the end of the year, but let's do it right, because this deserves to really be seen. So here we are again with this concert, which I'm going to wake up one day and just post the whole thing on Twitter or something. But now he wants more time to just do it right, which at this point, why not? So there's your update on the ever elusive 40th concert. But trust me, it's going to be worth it when it comes. You're not going to believe how great it looks and sounds. And we may even do some special stuff like some kind of premiere. I might come on live. So there's all this stuff you can do. But I had no idea that there's a whole sub business that people hire or bands use to just manage YouTube algorithms and push stuff to the front and make sure it's done right and it's monetized, channelized, networkized. It's crazy. So there's that. So lot to talk about as usual coming off the weekend. We are open today. I'll give you the schedule here. It's very open, as a matter of fact, because right now we have live shows. I'm planning live shows today, obviously, tomorrow, and Wednesday. You will get best ofs this week, Thursday and Friday, as I take those days off. I was going to try to do a mailbag. That's unlikely on one of those days for two reasons. Number one, I am extremely busy preparing to go to Brazil this weekend and extremely busy preparing for Monsters of Rock cruise and what it takes to try to do radio from there. Working with those folks. If you remember when we did that cruise last year, we had a connectivity problem. I never got a show out. First time that happened. Doing everything to make sure that does not happen. So I'm shipping out gear, talking to engineers. So there's a lot going on. My month of April is insane. So, and the other reason why I don't think I'm going to do mailbags or whatever is I got a bunch of vacation time I need to use, and I never take vacation. I don't remember the last time I took like a full week off. So I use my days in little spurts, and then all of a sudden I get to the end of my contract year, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. I got all these days. So I'm probably just going to, not worry about that. We'll pull a couple cool best ofs for you Thursday, Friday, as I travel to Brazil Wednesday night. Then I'll be back from Brazil next Monday, super early in the morning, probably on fumes, but plan to give you live shows all next week, Monday through Friday. And then when I get off the air next week will be Monday through Thursday live shows. I think. Yeah, no, Monday through Friday. Can't even keep my own schedule straight. Because then Saturday, a week from this Saturday, I fly to Florida. And that's when get ready for the cruise, which leaves a week from Sunday. And I will be on board and hosting back-to-back 2 rock cruises on the same exact ship. Monsters of Rock, which I will do radio from, and then that segues right into the Summer of 99 / Creed cruise, which I do not do radio from. So I'll be bringing you all the coverage from Monsters Cruise, planning to do at least 3 live shows, if not 4, from that cruise, which basically goes over almost pretty much all weekdays. So that works out for the radio show as well. And then after I get through all of that, God willing, don't forget, if you're in Yuma, Arizona, I'm at the Kayshawn Casino, April 25th with Cheap Trick. But getting psyched and getting pumped to go to Brazil, second time in my life, going to Sao Paulo. I leave Wednesday, like I said, when we get off the air, it's a Wednesday night flight. I got my work visa. I got my vaccinations. I got my letter from the government inviting me. It's a whole thing to go there. And now I'm hearing from people, because they announced I'm coming, who, want to meet me, and they're talking about me doing a press conference, and it's crazy. Like I said, these other countries, when I go there, I honestly don't think anybody has a clue. I don't think like that, and it's amazing the reaction and outpouring of support, and I'm super grateful for it. I know here in the U.S. I've broadcasted my whole life. I get that, but anyway, I forgot, a guy just emailed me, because when I was in Brazil last, which again was in 2013, they had a mall there. I just remembered this. There's a mall in Sao Paulo, and it's all rock memorabilia. They are rock crazy down there. And they had like a little mall that had all independent, like, rock paraphernalia, shops, shirts, music, etc. Just got an email from a guy now. He just said, I've got this amazing store that sells these custom T-shirts, whatever. I'd love to give you some gifts coming to the country. So Friday I should have time, although I heard over the weekend they want me to do a press thing on Friday, so I'm not sure what I'm going to have time for. It's a very short trip, and I also wasn't planning to check a bag, so I don't know what I can come back with. But I'm super excited to return there. And over the weekend, I texted everybody in all the bands that I know that are playing. I texted Slash and Duff. They got back to me. I texted Yngwie, texted Lizzie Hale, texted the Dirty Honey guys. They've never been to Brazil before. They're super psyched to go for the first time. And I texted the guys in Extreme. And all of these people are good friends, so I'm so excited. I think we're all going to be in the same hotel. Probably not Guns. They'll probably be in some compound. But the other bands, we should all be in the same hotel. So let me tell you a funny story. So I text the guys in Extreme, and I texted Ricky Medlock and Skynyrd. They're second on the bill. It's an amazing bill. And I said to Nuno, Nuno is Portuguese. His family's from Portugal. And he speaks Portuguese. And the language they speak in Brazil is predominantly Portuguese, which I don't know a word of, beyond obrigado, which means thank you. So on the text thread, Nuno was like, man, it's so cool you're going to be there. We'll see you soon, whatever. I was like, yeah. And I go, hey, Nuno, I'm going to lean on you to translate for me a little bit. And he said, oh, yeah, no problem. And he texts me back. And he goes, I go, yeah, because I need some stuff to say from the stage in Portuguese. I said, I want to be able to say something to the audience. And he goes, yeah, here's one for you. Say this. And he writes something in Portuguese on the text, because I was on a plane. And I read it and I go, oh, okay. I said, I'm going to try to memorize this. I said, this is great. What am I saying? And he told me what it was after a few minutes in English. I'm not going to repeat it. But it was, let's just say, highly inappropriate and sexual in nature. And probably would have gotten me thrown out of the country and never asked to host anything again if I said it. But it would have been funny as hell. Because I would have been wondering why the audience was reacting like they would. I'm thinking he sent me in Portuguese like, I don't know, Sao Paulo, are you ready to rock? And what he sent me was something, was completely inappropriate. So he texts me back like 5 minutes later and he goes, here's what that translates to, by the way. And I was like, you son of a bitch. He was laughing. I go, there's so much from my translator. I said, now I'm not going to trust anything you tell me to say. So it's going to be fun. And, shit, it's less than a week away that I'm going to be on stage. I mean, last time I was there, there's like 100,000 people at this thing for what should be an amazing event. And I'll do my best to cover it from social media, which is the best I can do for you being in Brazil, and give you guys some photos, video, whatever I can do, given the internet connection, given the cell phone connections there, given that amount of people in one area. But super psyched and leaving Wednesday night. The other thing I want to report on coming off the weekend is that on Friday, as I mentioned going into the weekend last week, Friday I went to see the Eagles at the Sphere just before I left Vegas. Eagles have done about 52 shows there, playing every Friday and Saturday ever since they started doing this. It has been immensely successful. The Eagles obviously are a band that has the biggest selling record of all time now with their greatest hits record, over 40 million sold in America alone. Obviously, like a dozen songs everybody knows. Obviously, songs that cross over to various generations, various demographics. So it makes them the perfect candidate to play a residency where people just come from all over the world every weekend to see the bands perform. So the Eagles, in many ways, are an ideal candidate to play in that building, and that's been proven out. Now, they only have a couple more weekends left before they end, at least for this run, playing in there. And I had always wanted to go because I was curious about the production. The only time I had ever seen a music show in there was U2 opening night. Everything else I've seen in Sphere until this past Friday had been movies. I saw Wizard of Oz, and I saw the movie that was made for Sphere, Postcards from Earth, twice. But the only other live music event I had seen was opening night at U2. So I went there with my buddy Stoney. I never would have gone before because tickets are quite expensive, and I'm just not that big of an Eagles fan to do that. But I had a friend in New Jersey who bought these tickets, and he was supposed to fly to Vegas for the show, and something came up and he couldn't do it at the very last minute, and he was going to eat the tickets. So he texted me and he's like, hey, I just don't want these to go to waste. Can you go? Do you want to go? I said, if you can't sell them, I'll buy you dinner or something, but yeah, send them to me. I'll use them so they don't go to waste. So that's what happened. The seats were on the floor. I know that in most concerts, floor seats are considered desirable, the best seats, the closest seats where you want to be for a lot of people. I do not believe that is the case for Sphere. By the way, that's actually the real name of the place, not the Sphere, Sphere. But kind of like the Scorpions, everybody says the Scorpions, even though they're actually just called Scorpions. And the reason why I do not feel now, because when I went to U2, I was on the floor as well. Now, U2 was standing on the floor, GA. The Eagles were folding chairs on the floor. The Eagles audience is quite a bit older. But I do not believe the floor is the best place for a show at Sphere. And this will be a note to you guys who many are going to that venue now for the first time ever, because the first heavy rock show ever obviously is going in there this year with Metallica. So there's a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of you listening that are going to that have probably never been in the building before. And I will tell you the reason why the floor is not the best place in this venue. And I'm sure Metallica will be GA on the floor, meaning standing. And it's fine, but here's the problem with the floor in the Sphere. As I mentioned before, the permanent seats in there, which there are like 18,000 of, all have speakers built into the seats. When they put temporary seating down on the floor, you're not getting that effect because those seats are not wired. But the other reason why is because this building is different, where you're going not necessarily to see the band members playing. You're going for the overall experience, which is the building itself. The entire dome is these visuals and the sound and all of that. So really, to me, the sweet spot in this building would be mid-level. There's like 4 levels of risers up, balcony sections. Mid-level, which is like the 200s, maybe the 300s, a little higher, and in the middle if you can get it. That's the sweet spot, without a doubt. Because you're not going to the Sphere to where normal concert, you want to be somewhat up close to see the musicians and all of that. This is more the overall experience. This place is huge. You're not looking close up on the musicians no matter where you are. You're looking at the screens. Yeah, you'll look at the stage a little bit, but honestly, the band you're seeing, they look, no matter where you are, they look very small because they're delivering the music and the building is delivering the visuals. And if you're like halfway up in the middle, you're getting the whole scope of those visuals. So if you're too close or you're on the floor, you're not getting the same sound mix. You can't see the floor of the stage, which they sometimes project stuff on because you're eye level to the stage, and you don't get the whole scope of the building and the visuals. There were so many times in the Eagles show where I was like arching my neck looking up because I wanted to see all the graphics, and you got to angle your head up. Whereas if you're halfway up, you're getting the whole scope of what's going on. So again, wherever you sit for whatever you go to there, it's going to be a little different experience, but I think without a doubt, 200s, 300s, somewhere in the middle, if you can do it, is the place you want to be. Now, I get from Metallica, people are going to want to be like, headbanging, standing, whatever. But again, this building isn't that kind of building. Like you're going to want to take in everything going on around you on these screens. So do what you will, but that's my tip about seating. As far as the Eagles are concerned, this building lends itself great to the Eagles. And here's why. And I don't mean this as a diss. I'm just being honest. The Eagles are a pretty boring band. And what I mean by that is they don't run around the stage. They're older dudes. They never put on a stage show. I think there were 8 members in the band. They stand there and play. They're not Metallica. They're not headbanging. They're not making crazy faces. They're not running around the stage trading off guitar solos. They are standing there at mics, singing and playing. That's it. So having all this visual content brings more interest into the show as to what you're seeing. Look, the songs are great. You all know, every song they play, but I'm just talking from a visual standpoint. And I posted a little bit of Hotel California on my social media. I have a couple other things I can post too. And they open with that song. And like I said on socials, I'm like, you got a shit ton of hits when you can open the show with your biggest one. Very cool visuals with that. Look, overall, I liked it. Would I spend, I think people are spending on average like $500, $400 to just get in there for that thing. Would I spend that? No. But like I say all the time, I am amazed at how much people seemingly are willing to spend to go to concerts these days that they really want to see. Dropping $1,000 on a pair of tickets doesn't seem like it's even a second thought to many, which great for the industry. It's incredible to me. But I'm just not that hardcore of an Eagles fan that I would spend that money personally. Is it something you should go to if you can go? Sure. Was it cool? Yeah. The band themselves are getting up there. Here's what I'll say. I'm going to be very careful here, and you can read between the lines as much as you'd like. Don Henley sounded vocally amazing. Incredible. Like it was almost too good to believe. Joe Walsh sounded very, what's the word I can use? Live. Joe Walsh was every bit Joe Walsh, and God bless him for it. Because Joe Walsh was raw and off mic, on mic, pitchy, a character, making faces, and was great. Henley was great to a level that was hard to believe. But so whatever. But Joe Walsh was great in a different way. And they did a lot of Joe Walsh songs. They did Funk 49. They did Rocky Mountain Way. That was the other thing I was curious about. I was like, are they going to do solo songs? Because the Eagles have so many hits. Are they going to do solo songs? Don Henley did Boys of Summer. Joe Walsh did Funk 49 and Rocky Mountain Way. And there were some huge Eagles hits they did not do. But I'll say this too. They did over 2 hours, just around 2 hour show. A 2 hour show for guys that old, very respectable. They did a great job remembering members of the band who had passed away. Of course, Glenn Frey's son, Deacon, is in the band, does a great job. Vince Gill is in the band, also sings, does a great job. Those guys all sounded real good as well. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. Again, would I drop $1,000? No. But I would tell you that about 95% of bands, I wouldn't do that. But that's just me. But it's something, absolutely worth seeing. And, who knows? I mean, they've been, like every band on the planet, they've been talking about ending for 30 years. And even after the Sphere now, they've announced other shows coming up that are not in the Sphere. But look, it's it's a lighter rock thing, but they're incredible songs that everybody knows. And highlight for me was when they did In the City. That was probably the most rockin' moment. They did a guitar jam at the end, so that was really cool. But to open with Hotel California, I mean, that's like, yeah, we got only 15 other hits that we can play for you too. The last thing on the Eagles was they did a really cool thing too. They did okay, so if you've been to the Sphere, or if you haven't been, and again, I know a lot of people who are going there soon for the first time because of Metallica in my audience. The Sphere, the only casino that it's actually connected to is the Venetian. And by the way, even Metallica's doing this. They're doing package deals. There's this new company that Live Nation, I found out, bought called Vibey, where you can buy these package deals where you get hotel, maybe even air, I don't know, but your hotel room for the weekend, concert tickets, VIP, this whole all-inclusive experience, right? So I'm sure they're putting all the people at the Venetian because that is the sanctioned Sphere Hotel and it's connected. You can walk through this tunnel right into the building. So they put up this, like most bands do at that level, they put up merch stores in the casino. But the Eagles just didn't put up a merch store. They put up this little Eagles museum that was really cool, really well done, and it recreated Los Angeles and the Sunset Strip. So they had in there recreations and storefront recreations of like the Troubadour, the old Gazaris, the Rainbow, the Whiskey, some of the famous restaurants in that LA area. So they recreated old LA. Giant neon sign with the Hotel California logo. You could take pictures. They had a really nice little memorial to the members of the band who have passed away with Glenn Frey right at the top. That was super well done. You could just walk in there, really cool. And then, of course, at the end, it dumps you out into a merch area where they had like a mall of Eagles merch. And here's what I'll say about that. So my dad is a big Eagles fan. And I also wanted to buy something for the guy who gave me the tickets as a thank you. But I was going into the concert. I said, let me hit this on the way out. Because they want to carry the stuff in the concert. So on the way out, I bought a couple t-shirts. And I'll say this about the merch. Not only was there a ton of it, and was it really nice and really well done and great quality and a million different designs, but by today's merch standards, for a casino in Vegas, for a band like the Eagles, it was actually fairly priced. Now, I paid $50 per t-shirt. To say $50 for a t-shirt is cheap sounds kind of strange, but it is, as you know, if you've bought a concert shirt lately at a gig. And when you consider, I just got a t-shirt from the designer John Varvatos that cost $150. $50 for an official Eagles shirt is not bad. They were great quality, tons of great designs. I had no problem with that. I thought that was beyond fair. I was shocked, actually. I thought they were going to be like $75. They were all $50. And then it went up from there if you got into hoodies and sweatshirts and all that, but I didn't do any of that. So that was a good thing too. So props to them for reasonable merch prices, if you want to call that reasonable. But I think it is compared to some of the other stuff I see out there with, $140 t-shirt. Here, last thing on this. Here's really funny too. Stoney pointed this out to me. They had these racks of all these different designs, all the t-shirts for $50, but they had the one shirt that was like a little weathered looking. That one was like 130. Stoney was like, hey, you want the shirt that makes it looks like it's gone through the laundry 100 times. You got to pay more for it. All right. So there's my report from the weekend and stuff coming up. again, we're going to have a lot of time for you guys on the phones, covering a lot here today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So before I break to go to Brazil. So we've got a lot to catch up on. All right, other news. And this is probably the biggest news coming out of the weekend. And it was a bit of a surprise that hit us all on social media yesterday. And that is that Rush performed live for the first time since their reunion with their new drummer, Annika. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Is it Niles? Nilles? I think it's maybe pronounced Nilles.
In the first intro video, they said Niles, but, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. So Rush performed yesterday at the Juno Awards, which I believe are like the Canadian equivalent to the Grammys. So it was the debut of the new Rush lineup, which features Annika on drums. And also, remember, Rush is now using a keyboard player, which they've never been a four-piece before. His name is Lauren Gold. We've talked about that. He was also on stage with them. So this was the first public appearance, live performance from the new Rush. And maybe the most incredible thing about this appearance, to me, what struck me, was not who was or wasn't in the band. The song they played. They did one song, and it was Finding My Way, which, if you are a hardcore Rush fan, you know is the first song on the first album back in '74. Very Zeppelin-y. That first Rush album, for those that don't know it, it was Rush when they were very much like a Zeppelin Who kind of knockoff band. And I love it, by the way. I love the first Rush album. But outside of Working Man, they hardly ever play anything from that record. So the fact that that was the one song for their return to playing live that they did was shocking to me. The other thing that was really surprising to me about it, that song was, if you know your Rush, Neil Peart's not on that album. Neil Peart did not join the band until the second album. And they ran a lot of visuals on the screen behind them while they were playing of Neil Peart as a tribute, which was great. But I found it odd that they were doing that while playing a song that Neil Peart had nothing to do with. Didn't play on it, didn't write it, wasn't in the band when it was created. Now, granted, when he joined the band a year later, of course, he played it live with them, but the one Rush album Neil Peart has nothing to do with is the song they played running tribute stuff to Neil. So I thought that was a bit surprising. The other thing, too, is I understand they probably wanted to have the keyboard player out there just to show the new lineup of the band, but there are no keyboards on that song at all. So the guy was standing up there, but I don't know what he was doing. Because in that first Rush album, there are no keyboards. It is complete guitar riff rock. And then the final thing was, of course, what the spotlight is going to be on, which is the drummer, Annika. And, again, I'm not a musician. I mean, it sounded fine to me. She seemed to do a fine job. The only thing that I'll say about that, which was just a very odd visual, was that she plays a single bass drum. And the kit was, by Rush standards, very small. And, we kind of touched on this with Vinny Appice when he was on with us last week, because Vinny was talking about, having to add a kick drum, even though he didn't play it. Forget who he said he was playing with, but just to make the kit look bigger and give that visual, even though he likes to play single kick. I mentioned to you that Kenny Aronoff does that when he plays with Sammy Hagar. He plays a single bass drum too, but he adds one or two to make the kit look bigger like Alex Van Halen and to just fill out the drum riser. Neil Peart was known for monstrous drum kits and at least 2 bass drums. So to see a drummer with a single bass drum playing a very different kind of style, because it looked like she kind of played, I don't know if she was left-handed, but it seemed like she was hitting a different, it was different. Obviously, it's going to be different. There's only one Neil Peart. But from a visual standpoint, I'm not talking about the fact the visual because she's a woman in Rush. The visual of the drum kit seemed sparse because Rush and Neil were known for these huge kits. Now, when they tour, I don't know, maybe she builds that out a little bit. I mean, you know, every drummer, it's their instrument. They get what they need and use what they need. But as I mentioned, and it's a fact, there are some drummers that put stuff on their drum riser they don't need and they don't play, but just for the visual. And I would think that, you know, given the footsteps she's going into, from a visual standpoint, that might be something she ends up doing, but who knows? We'll see. And the other thing about them doing that song is way high vocally. You know, Geddy was in his 20s when it was recorded. So he was going for it. But I was like, oh man, Geddy picked like the highest song you could possibly try to sing, but I guess jump right into the deep water. But Alex sounded great. I mean, I loved that they played something from the first record. I loved the early Rush. I was just very surprised by it as a song choice. You'd think something middle ground, Tom Sawyer, Limelight, Spirit of Radio, something that was a big hit. So I give him credit for getting adventurous and doing something very out of the box that you would not expect. It was just odd since Neil had nothing to do with the song. And they were definitely showing video of Neil. You can see it online if you'd like. Give us your own thoughts. But the guys look good. You know, Alex and Geddy looked good, looked healthy, and looked into it, and were smiling and having fun. And this thing should be a really, really interesting storyline to follow this year as this gets ready to go out on the road in a few months. Few other notes here, then we'll get over to the calls. Every day we have more No Band Ever Ends stories, NBEE. You could throw Rush into that category. Deep Purple. The Long Goodbye has been going for about 15 years, and it ain't done yet. Announcing a U.S. tour today with special guest Kansas, Jefferson Starship on some dates, August 4th through September 12th. For my old buddies in Deep Purple going back out on the road in the U.S. We've talked about this masked band president. They announced a tour today of theaters now. So again, seems to be a real interest point when you do this anonymous thing. September 4th, they start in theaters, about a month worth of dates, including the Wiltern in LA, which is a big theater. So they are absolutely growing. Black Label Society made a video for the much, much focused on Ozzy's song on the new BLS album. The album came out on Friday. We talked to Zach about the song. We talked to Zach about everything. If you missed that interview, it's on the app. The video is on YouTube. Definitely watch it if you can. Zach is a trip, as you know. But they dropped a video for the song today. The video is fantastic. I just texted Zach about it a little while ago. Brilliant job on the video. It's very emotional. I mean, it's all footage and photos of Ozzy and Zach when Zach was super young and Ozzy was younger. Credit Zach. If you watch closely, there is video clips in there of Ozzy with every guitar player who was ever in Ozzy's band, including Joe Holmes. So I thought that was a super nice touch. really very emotional video. And I got to imagine for somebody like Zach, who was so close to Ozzy, that had to be really hard to even put that together. And the song is great. It's got a phenomenal guitar solo from Zach. When he was on with us, I told him, I said, it reminded me a little bit of In This River from the Mafia album. It's very similar in its direction, the guitar solo, the emotion. And that song was a song he dedicated to, at the time, Dime, and also, if I remember, Dio as well. So check that video out if you get a chance. It hit today. Eric Clapton, the Crossroads Guitar Festival that he does for charity, happening in August, September 26 and 27. Happening in Austin, I should say, Austin, Texas, September 26 and 27. In addition to Clapton, Pete Townsend, Billy Gibbons, Joe Bonamassa, John Mayer, Tedeschi Trucks, Buddy Guy, and many others will be contributing their talents. I believe this benefits Eric Clapton's drug rehab center. I'll be seeing Guns N' Roses Saturday night, hosting a show with them in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They kicked off their touring over the weekend, playing their first show of this latest run of touring, opening the tour in Monterrey, Mexico. Current Guns N' Roses set coming in at about 2.5 hours long. In the past, they've played 3 or longer. They did not replace Melissa Reese. Last week, it was announced that the second keyboardist in the group would not be joining them for this tour. So Dizzy Reed handling all the keyboards there was not a replacement, at least one that was announced. So that's an interesting note. They did 26 songs in total. If you count them all up, 6 of the 26 are covers. They're still doing Velvet Revolver's Slither, which I think is interesting. They also did a cover of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Duff McKagan with a couple covers, more of the punk stuff when he goes up to the mic. And they also played the 2 recently announced songs, Nothing and Atlas, live. So those were represented in the set, along with Chinese Democracy and a few other things from that period of the band. 2026, this year, marks the 10th year since GNR reunited with Slash and Duff that they have been touring and playing around the world. 10 years now, if you can believe it. Still no newly written music, but 10 years of playing live. And look, who would have thought when you go back 12 years, 15 years to the pre-reunion GNR, all the different people that were in and out, Ashba, Bumblefoot, Tommy Stinson, whoever it was, Brain, Buckethead, on and on and on. All of that stuff that went on then. Guns N' Roses going on at midnight, playing till 3:30 in the morning. All the chaos, mayhem, whatever. When you consider that now for 10 years, these guys go on time and have made this work that long without an implosion is incredible. Really is incredible. I don't think anybody could have ever anticipated that. That 10 years later, this thing would still be going like clockwork. And like I said, like a Pac-Man going around the world, just gobbling up millions and millions of dollars a night. It's incredible. They'll be out there all this year, pretty much, still doing it. So I look forward to seeing them. First time I'll see them with their new drummer, by the way, this weekend. So I'm going to have a lot to report for you guys when I get back from Brazil, which will be, I plan to be on Monday. I fly back overnight Sunday into Monday, but I plan to be back next Monday, coming right off the weekend for a full report. Also, another significant show that happened over the weekend, Paul McCartney, we touched on this, announced a new record last week. The man in his early 80s still going. He announced 2 shows that were very much underplays, meaning very, very small venues for him. They were both in LA over the weekend at the Fonda Theater. McCartney played 23-song set. And needless to say, a McCartney show in LA in a theater was loaded with celebrities, actors, musicians, etc. So a tough ticket to get in a club or a theater rather for McCartney became even tougher because I'm sure half the tickets on each of the two shows were given to celebrities and VIPs, but that's the world. So we'll see if this leads to more touring and an announcement of a McCartney tour. They did announce a record. Is this guy going to go back out there and tour on a grand scale again? Who knows? I think he'd be a no-brainer for Sphere, and it would alleviate the travel. I think McCartney's 83 now, and he was at the Sphere opening night. Told you that. I saw him. But not hearing any rumblings about that. Yeah, McCartney's 83. By the way, one last thing on the Sphere is I was sitting there watching the Eagles on Friday. I was like, my God, still the ultimate Sphere band ever. And it'll probably never happen. But the ultimate Sphere band ever that could play them there every night for a year would be Pink Floyd. The sound and the visuals would be ridiculous in there. No way it's going to happen, but just the place was made for Pink Floyd. Joel, anything you want to jump in on?
Just a birthday to add today. We're saying happy birthday to Eric Clapton, celebrating 81 today.
Oh, wow. Well, I just mentioned Clapton, obviously, with this festival that he's doing. All right, so there's a lot, as usual, coming off the weekend. There's a lot coming up. Again, this month of April is going to be jammed between the cruise, between Brazil next week. You know, I'm going to cover it and bring it to you as best I can on all fronts as we go. And day to day, I'll keep you updated as best I can. All right, let's do this then. Let's take a break.
You're listening
to Trunk Nation
with Eddie Trunk.
From the Stones to Metallica, it's all talk that rocks. Trunk Nation.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
This is Trunk Nation.
Outtakes, live records, box sets, anything.
Conversation on all things rock.
Heavier live, but in a really, really good way.
And now, your host, Eddie Trunk.
An interesting vocal style.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
I was just talking during the commercial break. The thing that was funny, too, about the merch when I bought a couple Eagles shirts for my dad and a friend at Sphere the other day was this big merch store, went up to the counter, pay for the stuff, put the 2 T-shirts down, girl behind the counter, credit card only, no cash. Okay. Zap the credit card, throws the shirts in the bag. How much tip would you like to leave? What? Would you like to leave 15, 20% tip? What? I just spent $100 on 2 T-shirts and you're asking if I would like to give you $10 or $20 additional for a tip for what? Like, did something happen here that should be tipped? Did you serve me food? Take my order? Did you make the food? Did you clean the table? Did you... What? Tip? You didn't even make change. You don't take cash. You didn't even do a transaction. You literally turned a computer screen to me, let me zap my credit card, and handed me my shirts. Tip? The tipping thing has gone insane. Insane. Enough with the tips. Enough with the surveys. I don't need a customer service feedback call, email for every single thing that I do. You'll hear from me if it wasn't good. I am so over the forced tipping when it is not warranted and surveys. Surveys I can't delete quick enough. And I have no issue tipping and tipping well for services that deserve to be tipped. They are asking in self-serve kiosks in airports, would you like to leave a tip? Are you fucking, what? And now they're making it harder to X out and to find a way to get around that screen. It's principle. It's insane. It is insane. I take Ubers and Lyfts all the time. No problem at the end of a ride if it goes well with no problem leaving a tip. I'll do it all the time. 15, 20%, no problem. Driver got me there safe. Guy was cool. Woman was cool. Didn't kill me. Whatever. No problem. Because you turned a kiosk a half a turn and I zapped the thing? What? It's nuts. Here's the funny thing about Uber Lyft, if you've noticed. Now they ask you to tip the driver as soon as you sit in the car. Can I wait to make sure I get there in one piece? Can I wait to make sure that the guy doesn't wrap the car around a pole and it gets me to where I need to go in a timely manner? Can I wait to make the tip? I'll make the tip, no problem. Let me get out of the car first and get to where I'm going. As soon as you sit down, my bag's not even in the trunk. Would you like to leave a tip for the driver? Show him your, what? He didn't put it in drive yet. You guys, I could do rants for days if you ever wanted it. Just let me know. I know Joel likes that. He wants to record that. But again, it's it's not calculated, trust me. And the dogs are out of control too. I love dogs. Nothing against people with dogs. But it's gone insane. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. The incredible scam that is Service Dog has gone off the rails. What I mean by that is a scam is, for those that truly need the services of a dog, great. You should have every amenity and resource for that. But let's be honest. It is blatantly obvious there are a lot of people that are going on Amazon and knitting a little scarf for their dog that says Service Dog and jamming it everywhere. It is so out of control, it's not even funny. Back in the day, seeing eye dogs and all that stuff, wonderful, amazing animals, useful for the people. Whatever's going on now is next level. Joel, you're a dog person. You see what's going on, right?
Yeah, I'm a dog person and I have 2 dogs, and I'm very aware of what's going on, and it's really frustrating for me too, especially as a dog owner, who doesn't take advantage of it that way, to watch other people do it, bring their dogs into places they shouldn't be, like taking your dog into the grocery store. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't need the fruit I'm going to pick up to have like your dog snoot all over it.
It's out of control.
It's out of control, and there are people who really need it, and there are people who really need it who don't, to the plain eye, you wouldn't know that they need it, but still do. But that's how everybody else gets away with it and milks it, and it's BS.
Yeah, if it's a sanctioned thing, like I believe there's a process for that. You have to prove the dog is providing a real service that you truly need. But there's a shit ton of people. It's obvious. And on the planes, It's insane. It's insane. It's also like there are so many people with handicap badges on their cars that I watch them park. They get in and out. They run in and out of the store. They're like I can't even talk. It's Monday. I'm all worked up. It's like they're like Olympic sprinters. They're like Iron Men. These people, they're like, they don't even have a limp in their step. And they got to park. They got one of the badges for their thing. No, the people that need that should have it. And that's the reason why when you go to a store now, there's 50 spots dedicated to that because 40 people are using it that shouldn't use it or took the badge from somebody else. That's a whole nother scam that's going on. And in both cases, there's people with real need for it that you're mucking up the system for them with your own patheticness. I love dogs. I never had one, but I mean, come on. Let me know when you want that show, me just going nuts. Because I got a laundry list. Happy Monday, everybody. Let's start in Canada today. Here's Paul in Ontario. Hi, Paul.
Good afternoon, Eddie. How are you?
Hey, Paul. What's going on, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Was at the Rush show last night, or the Junos to see Rush last night. So it was one word, joyous. It was an occasion unto itself, and it was a complete secret until you walked in the arena. And I don't think a lot of people really knew what sort of scale or like that Rush would be participating last night. And I'm a drummer, so there's a couple tells. Like, you know, I could see the kit set up for Annika. And I don't personally know like her setup outside of just the way things kind of look normally, and was starting to rationalize in my head, well, nobody else on this bill would have such an elaborate setup. And it was something else. Like it was, I posted to the Rush socials, the fan socials, within 5 minutes of seeing it. And it was just, people were, they couldn't be any more happy. But then you had the naysayers saying that, Annika isn't Neil, et cetera, et cetera. But, you think about Rush for this case, like how calculated a song choice to come out with. You're out of the gate with a song from your first album that doesn't have Neil Peart on it. So the basis to compare isn't like, hey, Annika out of the gate isn't, she can't hold Neil sticks, right? So it was a logical choice when you think about it, but what an occasion. It was, I thought Geddy sounded kind of like, what you expect of Geddy at this stage in his career. And it was a great show. I mean, like, I got an opportunity to share with my teenage daughter, my fiance, and it was an event unto itself.
So, Paul, let me ask you, since you're there, so this is great that you're calling in so you get some firsthand account. Were Rush announced at all to be a part of it? Were they on the roster to appear at it, or was it a complete surprise they were even there? Did they get an award or anything?
100% no. They were a secret, like they teased it 24 hours in advance. They showed up. Well, I mean, the host of the show, they were going live to air. So it is the equivalent of the Grammys in Canada. There was a countdown, and the host introduced it, and within 5 or 10 seconds, the opening notes came out, and my jaw just hit the floor. And I was just like, oh, my God, this is actually happening. And I looked around, and, you get limited people there that were probably more industry people, and it's kind of a pop R&B kind of
just like the Grammys. It sounds like yeah, just like the Grammys.
So you look around.
Did Rush? Wait, Paul. Did Rush open? Was that the first thing? Was that the first thing people saw? Was that how the show opened?
That's how the show opened. Yeah, and so they said making their Juno debut. Their first album, 1974, and I was like, there's no way. And yup, sure as shit, they handed the bass to Ged, and off they went. I was just like, I literally can't believe this is happening. We took a flyer on it, grabbed tickets day of, and anybody who's going, if they have reservations or posting, negative comments online, regarding, Neil versus Annika, just go out there and enjoy it. Just leave it all at the door. You'll forget about it. You're going to have a great time. It was just so worth it.
Look, I think the majority of people, and thank you, Paul. I agree. The song choice was shocking because, again, it was a song without Neil, and it was a fairly obscure song, first album, whatever. Again, you're going to do a TV show. You would think that they would have come out with a big song everybody knows, but give them credit for that, right? I guess, I loved it. I love the first record, but I know all that early stuff inside out. I saw Geddy Lee, I guess, he was asked after that performance yesterday, why that song? And he said, well, when you got a catalog like us and you only can do one song, what do you do? There's never going to be a right answer. I mean, for the purposes of something that was such a big moment, I would have said something like Spirit of Radio, but I was thrilled with the choice. But he said that the management they have now, let me let you in on a little something with Rush that you may not know on the industry side. So Rush had the same manager pretty much their entire history, a guy named Ray Daniels. He has retired. In the time that Rush has been inactive, he retired. Rush is now being looked after on a management level by a company called Q Prime, who are and have been for better than 40 years, probably the biggest rock management company certainly one of in the world. They've managed Metallica since the early 80s. And a ton of other bands. They got Muse, Red Hot Chili Peppers, what have you. The connection with that camp and Rush is that Cliff Bernstein, one of the two principals of Q Prime, worked for Rush's record label when they were first signed. If you saw the Beyond the Lighted Stage doc, Cliff is in there talking about hearing Rush and signing them back in 74. So he has deep roots in history, and apparently, according to Geddy, he said management said, well, what are you going to do? I guess you should just do first song, first record, start there. And that's Finding My Way. Look, as far as the drumming situation, Annika knew and had to know when she took this gig that she will be under a microscope. I think the majority of people in the Rush world are just happy that Geddy and Alex are on stage playing these songs, clearly having a good time, clearly smiling. And whether it's the addition of a keyboard player, whether you agree or disagree with bringing a fourth member like this keyboard player, whether you agree or disagree with the drumming choice, bottom line is, of course, you're going to have the keyboard warriors. Of course, you're going to have people that have their opinions, and they're all entitled to them. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. I firmly believe that, whether I agree or disagree. But, shoes that big in a spot that big, yeah, everyone's going to have something to say. Again, I am not a musician. To my ears, she sounded fine. The only takeaway from it for me was I was surprised by the visual in terms of the sparseness of the drum kit. But that could change when they tour. It's one song for a TV show. But yeah, we're gonna have this next year, once they actually start on the road, we're gonna have a lot of debating and discussing Rush stuff. I have no doubt. Because it is definitely, obviously, a big thing for any rock fan and for me as well. I'm just, my feeling about it is I'm just happy they're doing something. I've known those guys a long time. They're wonderful people. It's genuine. You could see the love in their face looking at each other, playing again. I thought Geddy did fine. I thought Annika did fine. I thought, I can't analyze the whole thing off of one song on a TV show. I'll reserve all comments until I actually see a full show and see how it's produced out and what it truly sounds like when they get into the catalog. Here's Mark in Florida. Go ahead, Mark.
Brother Trunk, love your show, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, bro.
So, hey, man, I haven't been able to talk to you in a while. You've had a lot of really good topics, and I've been trying to chime in, but I just haven't been able to get through. So I got a couple of things for you. But the thing that spurred me last week was the 5150 anniversary, which I totally love. After Eddie died, I searched for a DVD of that Live Without a Net, and I found one. It was $300, but I bought it because I can watch it every day. So I love 5150, the album. I think 5150, the song, is easily in my top 5 Van Halen songs. So listening to your show, somebody mentioned about the box set. So oh, shit, box set. Oh, it's got a Blu-ray DVD on it. So I called my buddy who's big time into vinyl, and he loves 5150. And I said, hey, bro, how about if we go halves on the box set, and I'll give you, half the money for the Blu-ray. And he's like, well, bro, I already ordered it, man. He's like, it's on its way. And he's like, I don't do Blu-rays. He's like, I'll just give it to you. So I'm like, fuck yeah, man. So I'll be getting that Blu-ray from him, which I look forward to. I just watched the regular DVD of it the other night. The sound is good on that one. It's just the video's not great because it's a square screen from the original, recording.
Right.
So I'm into that. So anyways, a couple of good docs I saw. I saw a really good doc about Terry Kath, the guitar player from Chicago.
Yep,
I know Chicago. Oh, you saw the one with his daughter?
I saw it a few years ago. Yeah, it was really good. Terry Kath was a great guitar player. Yeah.
And she finds his guitar, blue something, pig nose or something guitar that was his favorite guitar, and she was looking for it for years, and she found it. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. But it was cool to see Joe Walsh on that, and I think he was probably at that Colorado recording studio with them a lot. So that was really good. I saw a good one about Bad Company. It had all 3 of the Bad Company dudes sitting on a couch together. Have you seen that one?
I don't know. The thing about it, Mark, is there's so many of the one I noticed more than anything. And Mark, I got to run. I got a ton of calls, man, and want to get to as many people as I can here before we end. But when you talk about some of these music docs, the thing I noticed, if you go on Amazon Prime Video, they have a ton of unauthorized documentaries. And some of them, honestly, are pretty cheesy and pretty bad. I think you can put anything on Amazon to some degree, because I'm really surprised at some of the things they accept on there. So, and I'm not saying that about the ones Mark is bringing up at all. Those are legit. I don't know about the Bad Company one, but the Terry Kath one is legit. But all I'm saying is you got to be careful on some of these with the source, because some of them are very, very unauthorized, very low budget, and you see a lot of that on Prime for some reason. They must be really open about what they will and will not accept, and they're almost like maybe just a step above YouTube, and like basically you put anything on there. I don't know what that process is. By the way, Ray in Maryland had mentioned a documentary to me last week on someone, and all weekend I was trying to remember what the hell it was, and I can't for the life of me remember. So Ray will have to email me. Ray, email me if you can, please, and let me know what that. He mentioned a doc. He asked me if I saw it. He called in last week, and I couldn't remember what it was. I was looking for it. Let's go to Philadelphia. Here's Mario joining us. Hi, Mario.
Hello.
Hey, Mario, you're on the air.
Hi, long time, first time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a couple comments about the whole Rush thing. I thought it was kind of smart for them to pick something that Neil wasn't on, honestly, because Annika's going to be judged and all of that anyway. But I think it was cool because it let her stretch out a little bit, but also she put like some of the little flavoring thing that Neil would put on those songs when he played them. So I thought that was kind of a tribute to him in that way. But not.
See, Mario, let me jump in right there real quick, though. So I understand that idea of like, oh, okay, really like let her ease into it by doing something where she can't be compared to Neil because it's a song Neil didn't play on. But here's the thing that worked against that. All they did was put up video of Neil behind her. So if they were trying to like separate the Neil thing, which you could of course never do, but if they were trying to lessen that, they were rolling, if you watch, they were rolling videos and photos of Neil while she was playing to a song Neil didn't play on. So I thought that was the disconnect.
Yeah, I get that. About the kit, because I am a drummer as well, is that Neil moved to a single bass drum a long time ago with just a double pedal. So it's hard to say. I'm sure she's going to do something similar. It's a little bit more ergodynamic, I guess, if you will, for all of that.
Oh, so Neil was playing double pedal on a single kick?
Yeah, for a while. Like as he still had the electronic stuff on the back and all of that, but the front, for a while, the front last several tours, the front bass, he only had one bass drum.
Yeah, I mean, Finding My Way is a very, obviously, again, it's a very, thank you, Mario, very basic riff rock, hard rock song. And you wouldn't need some gargantuan kit to play that. Maybe she just doesn't like playing drums like that. Or maybe that's not her style. I don't know. Maybe when they tour, they will build a big drum kit. I don't know. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's going to be dictated to what she's comfortable with and what she needs to play the set. But if you know Rush music, I mean, Neil had all kinds of, chimes and all these different things. So that could very well be built out because they will need some of the stuff for certain songs that they're going to play. A lot of, as expected, a lot of discussion about this Rush thing, which doesn't surprise me at all. And that's why I love doing a daily show, because it gives you guys a chance to talk about whatever's going on any given moment. Victor in California. Go ahead, Vic.
Hey, how you doing, Andy?
Hey, Victor.
Yeah, I was looking at the video of Rush with their new drummer, and, the drum splashes sounded a little uneven. And I've read articles where Geddy says she's having a hard time learning Tom Sawyer. So I don't mean to be a harbinger of bad news, but there might be a chance that they might change her up, because I think they're too tough for her, I think.
Where did you see where Geddy said that she had a hard time learning Tom Sawyer?
It was like a video. He said like, oh, she's having a little tough time with that. It's out there. You can probably find it on the internet pretty easily.
Well, I don't know about that. Victor, I think that, look, it's a very, 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 thanks, Victor. It's a very, very big hot seat for anybody to walk into. Male or female, you are going to have a microscope on any human being on this planet that is going to step into Rush. And you are going to have people that are all in on it. You're going to have people that are questioning it. You're going to have people that think it was the wrong choice. You're going to have people think it was the greatest choice. That's the world. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. At the end of the day, here's what is indisputable. People are going to the shows. People are going to the shows in droves, because I think pretty much every one of them is sold out, and they're all multiple nights in arenas. I don't think at all there's a likelihood. I mean, again, you can't reach a conclusion on anything off of one 52-year-old song played last night. You can't. So let's see how it plays out. But I got a feeling, like, knowing these guys like I do and knowing what pros they are, I'm pretty sure that they knew what she could or could not do, and will work with her by the time the tour starts to get her to where she needs to be, if there are some things she's trying to get down, that, as they would with anybody. Here's the quote. Who is this? Is from Getty, Joel?
Yeah, it's from an interview with Planet Rock.
Okay, so that's Planet Rock, for those that don't know, is a British music media conglomerate. Very respected, very legit. They own a radio station. They own, I believe, some magazines. They're in England. Getty and Alex went over there and did press when they announced shows over there. The quote says, "She didn't know our music very well. She knew a couple of the big songs, and of course, every drummer on earth knew Neil and his reputation. She knew Tom Sawyer, and when we were going to play it for the first time, she just stopped and said, 'Yikes, I don't know if I want to play this one.'" That's the quote. Okay.
And the rest of the article is really just kind of referring to, her hesitation just at the very beginning and just kind of being nervous about joining and trying to fill his shoes. And it just really comes, I think it's being taken a little out of context.
Well, yeah, the key line in that quote that is being glossed over is when we were going to play it for the first time. So you see, social media land, keyboard warrior land, clickbait land leaves that part out because that gives it context. The context being the first time she went to play what is probably Rush's most identifiable song, she said, "Yikes, I don't know if I want to play this one." Could be for a lot of reasons. Not because she can't, but because it's such a big, iconic song and obviously has all this great Neil stuff. So there it is, right there. If you omit certain words and certain sentences conveniently, you lose context. The quote went on to say, "She was kind of nervous because of the importance of that. But we talked through it. We worked through it. The fills were not the hardest part for her. She could play those no problem. It was the feel, sitting in that groove that song has." So yeah, first time you're playing Tom Sawyer with Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, the first time they're ever playing the song without Neil Peart, yeah, I think anybody, man or woman, old or young, is going to be like, fuck, this is the big one. And that's how I interpret that, and that's natural. Again, the first time, she's probably played it with him 50 times since. You can't make conclusions off of this so early on, off one live song. Let's see what happens. That's all I'm saying. By the way, last thing on this. I mean, you could make the case that performance last night was a tribute to John Rutsey. I mean, they should have put up a photo of John Rutsey at one point. And for those that aren't hardcore Rush fans, that's the guy who actually played on that song. He's the drummer on the first Rush album, and sadly, he died several years ago. So in a way, this whole thing could almost be about how did she handle playing John Rutsey, if you want to get technical. I got to get another break in. Let's take care of that right now. We'll continue as I expected coming off of the weekend when this surprise Rush performance dropped. I knew it would be of great interest to you guys. And, you know, like I said, I love being on every day with you and letting you guys have a voice and sounding off as well about anything. But I knew the Rush thing would be a big talking point. So that or anything else, we got about 20 minutes left to go before we go over to the Hair Nation show on this Monday. Look, I think I'm going to keep this week pretty open as far as calls because, again, Thursday, Friday, we're going to give you best of shows. So we'll be open pretty much all week for your phone calls about this or anything you want today and Wednesday here on Trunk Nation. But we'll be back with more of your calls on this Monday right after this.
And we're back to talking all things rock.
Every type of music, from heavy groove stuff like Sepultura and Prong and Metallica.
With your host, Eddie Trunk, Sirius XM Faction Talk.
I just love that channel.
All right, a lot of people breaking down this Rush performance. Again, I think there's only so much you're going to be able to tell off of 1 4.5, 5-minute song, but you know, have at it if you want to give your thoughts. I mean, it was a little taste, but we'll see where it goes once this continues to develop. Back over to the phones. We go to Toronto. This is Dwayne. Am I saying it right? Dwayne?
It's Dwayne, Eddie.
Dwayne. Okay, there's a D in there. They were by accident. Dwayne, hi. You're on the air.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Dwayne.
Good. So, I think our last caller there who called in about Annika struggling with Tom Sawyer, I saw the same interviews with her and Getty, and I think he kind of misunderstood what he was seeing there. She simply said she was having a hard time with it because she holds the song in such regard.
Right. Well, that's my interpretation too, Dwayne. That it's a legendary song, and it's probably the biggest. It's probably the closest thing Rush has to a hit in their entire catalog. So probably the enormity of that song and the importance of it in the set. I take it that way as well.
She played with Jeff Beck. Anybody who plays with Jeff Beck can play Tom Sawyer. You know, there's no doubt about her ability. She's an ace.
I think it is interesting that they decided on bringing in a drummer that was admittedly not a big Rush fan. I think that's an interesting decision too, right? Like she didn't know all their stuff, so she's kind of like if they would have went and gotten, a progressive Portnoy or the drummer in Tool, Danny Carey, or some of these other people that were talked about that are just so from and of that world and influenced by Neil, that might have been looked at as differently because they would have known everything inside out. I don't know. I don't know what the pro and the con of going with somebody who was not well known as being a Rush fan or does not know Rush well or wasn't that well known in general. I mean, that's the other interesting angle to it all.
Yeah, well, they're always for fresh takes and fresh starts, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Look,
anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, Eddie. It had zero to do with her skills or abilities.
Yeah, and thank you, Dwayne. And that's exactly what I said when I read the quote. It's exactly what my interpretation was as well. And that's the world we're in, folks, because, again, people conveniently leave out things for context to try to create a narrative and to try to create clicks. Here's Clay in Wisconsin. Hi, Clay.
Hey, Eddie, what's going on?
Hi, Clay. What's happening?
Well, I just wanted to let you know we were at the live Ozzy debut song for Black Label Society in Madison last Friday, and it was amazing.
He played Ozzy's song live, right?
It was great, yeah. He did a tribute to the Boys in Pantera, and then he did his Ozzy song. It was really phenomenal.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I thought the video was super well done. I talked about it earlier in the show, and I look forward to seeing Zach on the Monsters Cruise very, very soon. He is headlining with BLS.
Talk about a guy that just loves what he does. I mean, down in the crowd, playing behind his head, opening for himself. It was really an amazing experience. I never seen him live before, and they were coming to town, and we had to go.
Cool. Well, I'll try to see, again, I'm working out now. Thank you, Clay. Working out now, getting the radio show set up for the cruise as we do every year. So hopefully that all goes smoothly, and I'll try to wrangle Zach to come by and hang out with us again. Obviously, we just had him on, but he's always welcome, always fun. Maybe I'll even get him to co-host one of the days based on his schedule. I'm not sure. We'll see. Here's Mike in Arizona. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. First-time caller. I want to make a few points. No problem. I want to make a few points on Sammy Hagar to you. So I know you mentioned Sammy Hagar in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just want to bring this point to you that Sammy Hagar is one of the 2 artists to have gold RIA certified albums with 4 different groups. Only him and Eric Clapton. I mean,
so hold on. You got the solo stuff. You got the obviously Van Halen. Is the first Montrose album a gold record?
It's platinum.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
It amazes me how many people don't know that record. Now, hold on a second. Hold on. So you said Montrose, Van Halen, solo, and what was the other one?
Chickenfoot.
Okay. I didn't hear if you said Chickenfoot. The reason why I'm asking you that is I am in my home studio right now, and right behind my head is a gold album for the first Chickenfoot record that they gave me. So I was just going to throw that in there. I was just like, wait, I got a gold record for Chickenfoot. So yeah, I never thought about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and one other point with Sammy and 5150. I was like you, a big Sammy fan before he joined Van Halen. My first time seeing the VOA tour, Crocus opening. I was a little upset when Sammy first joined Van Halen. And, you know, it's revisionist history. People don't realize the headwinds Sammy's faced joining Van Halen, and for him to make that, how successful it was. And myself and a lot of people went back and bought the Van Halen catalog after Sammy joined Van Halen. So nothing pissed me off more than saying, oh, Dave versus Sam and sales. Dave era had 8-track, tape, cassette, vinyl. Everybody went back and bought the CD. Sammy 5150, that was dead in the CD era. So, I mean, you look at apples to apples and how many people went back and bought that Van Halen catalog when Sammy joined the band and where Sammy took that band. I mean, you were there. He faced a lot of headwinds, and he took that band on heights that I don't think anybody ever anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it when I look back on that period, Mike, and thank you for the call. By the way, I don't know how many copies HSA has sold, but I don't know if that's gold. If that was gold, that's a 5th band, even though they only did 1 record. But when you look back on that period, and people are bringing up 5150 because we talked about it last week because it was 40 years old, and that special edition just came out. But yeah, it was to say, to Mike's point, to say faced headwinds, that is more than accurate. Because there were a lot of people that just did not think that there could be such a thing as Van Halen without David Lee Roth. And that was disproven very, very quickly. But I do think you got to look at it, and most people do, as that was two different bands. I mean, to the point that when they did the 5150 tour, they did like 3 songs from the Roth era. That's it. Can you imagine? You're Van Halen. You've got, a half a dozen records with David Lee Roth that are these iconic records. And you go out on a tour with a new singer and you only play 3 songs from that entire period? Not a lot of people could pull that off. That is a ballsy thing to do. But I think that they very much looked at it as a different band, even though it had the same name. Dale in Ohio. Go ahead, Dale.
Hey, Eddie. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
Hey, in regards to last night, to back up a little bit with Annika, when she was first brought into the camp, a lot of people may not know that after the 3rd rehearsal, they almost got rid of her. because Alex actually, him and Getty spoke and said, Alex said, I don't think she's the right fit.
Wait, how do you, hold on, Dale, let me stop you right there. How do you know this?
This was actually Getty saying this. There's a story. It's on the internet. And I read it.
Wait, Dale. Let me stop you right there, because again, this is the world we're in. A story on the internet means nothing. Is it factual from a real source on a real reputable site, credited to the members and legit? That's what you got to know, because there's so much bullshit out there.
I agree with you. But it was a credible source. I can't remember who it was. I've been, ever since they announced her, I've been researching. I'm a huge Rush fan. And this was a rock publication story. And they said that they talked after the third rehearsal. She came back to the fourth one and nailed it. And that's when they said, we're going to move forward on this. And I have been, ever since they made the announcement, I didn't know who Annika Niles was. And I bet you I've watched 50 videos of her online, and multiple performances, a lot of studio stuff and a lot of live stuff. And she's a very eclectic drummer. She's different. And she even did an interview and said that I have to play certain songs and certain parts exactly. And I understand that because I have to give respect to those particular songs that everybody knows, Tom Sawyer being one of them. And I have to play those parts, but they are allowing me to be a little versatile on other songs. They're allowing me to give my own flair to it. I think last night she nailed it. I think, Finding My Way is a straight ahead rock song, and she threw in parts in there of Neil. She left a few parts out live because it's different. The way Neil played it live was 80% of the way she played it, but she left some parts out, and you can see that with Getty. Getty was doing some of his stage antics, expecting some of these little flares, and it didn't happen. I think she nailed it. I think she is going to be a really good fit, all in all, for the band. I really do.
Well, we'll see. I don't think, and thank you, Dale, for the call. Again, you can't make that. I don't think anybody can make any assumptions one way or the other here off of one song that was originally recorded by John Rutsey for 4.5 minutes last night. You can't. You just can't. Rush's music is so much more complex than what they played last night. I mean, the first Rush album was primitive by comparison to what they turned into. So you can't. You just have no idea. But I always guard against, as you heard me say with Dale, all these, well, I read online, boom, red flag right there, folks. If you haven't figured that out by now,
I found the article.
All right, yeah, and it could be legit, but I'm just saying that anyone can pretend to be anybody and write anything and be from any made-up magazine and make it look totally legitimate, and it can be completely fabricated, fake for clicks. What did you find, Joel?
Turns out it's from The Guardian, and again, out of context. She was struggled the first couple of days, and then they had a talk with her, and it clicked, and she showed up, and she nailed it, and has been nailing it ever since.
Yeah, there it is, context. Those are little things that are left out to create drama, clicks. It's just that's the world. Anyone just can say anything, and it's very hard for people to disseminate what was left out. What was really the context? Wait, did somebody really say that? Was that a kid in his bedroom just trying to start shit? It's rampant, worse than ever. Let's get Shane in Georgia in here. Go ahead, Shane.
Hi, Eddie. It's a pleasure to be able to talk with you.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it. What's on your mind?
I saw on Facebook last night that Bobby Blatzer is willing to have a reunion with the remaining members of Rat, and he wants to get them to tour with Motley Crue. What do you know about that?
There is nothing to that at all because Blatz is not currently in Rat. He would obviously love to be back in the band, and I think a lot of people, myself included, Shane, thank you, would love to see him back in the band. But, you know, Blatz, I don't know where Blatz did an interview. I saw that making the rounds and said that. That's not surprising to me at all. It makes sense. He's an original member of the band. His drumming and his drum style was a big part of the sound of that band. Why he isn't a part of this, you'd have to ask Piercy and DeMartini. You know, Blatz did have some real serious issues with his back and his neck. So I'm hoping that's all healed up and he could do a show and a tour. The interview was done with somebody named Anthony Bryant, known as the Hair Metal Guru. I'm assuming that's a YouTube show. So yeah, I mean, I'd expect Blatz to say that. I would expect Juan Krausier to say that. They're not in the band right now. You know, of the original lineup of Rat, you've got 4 surviving members. You got two in the band. You got 2 that are not. That's why the band is called Piercy DeMartini and not Rat, the current band. So not surprising to me at all. Will it ever happen? I doubt it. But you never say never. I mean, people forget with Rat how much drama and lawsuits there were over the years between all these different guys. So right now you got Warren and Steven doing what they're doing, and you know, I'd love to see the other guys come in, but I don't see it happening. But for Blatz's purposes, I hope it does. Gotta go. Back live tomorrow. As usual, 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll pick it up then. Over to Hair Nation now. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.